This is Khatt Chronicles, design stories from the Arab world, presented to you in collaboration with Africa.
My name is Yasmin Ta'an, and I have with me today Hanane Kai. Hanane is a design director and award-winning illustrator based in the mountains of Lebanon, with 19 years of experience shaping visual narratives that matter. Known for her ability to ask the right questions, she uncovers core truths that give her work depth and resonance. In 2018, Hanane founded Doesn't Square, a design studio driven by the conviction that rigid solutions no longer serve a world that thrives on nuance. Her portfolio spans a diverse range of clients, including Facebook, Pearson, Hachette, BBC, and PepsiCo. Hanane illustrated more than 25 children's stories, all of them published, many of which have received prestigious international honors, including the Bologna Children's Book Award and the Etisalat Children's Book Award. Her illustrations often explore themes like war, poverty, and displacement, reflecting her thoughtful and compassionate engagement with complex social issues. Hi, Hanane. Let's start with the first question. I have a question before the first question, that is, in your biography, you mentioned that you are based in the mountains of Lebanon. I like this, but what do you mean by that? You know, the mountains of Lebanon. I envy you. I want to be in the mountains.
It sounds so mysterious.
Yeah. What is this Lebanon? It sounds so poetic.
Yeah, it feels this way because I have a forest nearby. For example, it's a walking distance 5 minutes away, and I can immediately become in between pine trees, and it feels beautiful. I couldn't live in the city really, and I don't mention exactly where in the mountains. Like, this is also what I like about my name, Hanane Kai. You can't tell which sect I belong to. It's my religion, and I like to not be associated really with that, because in Lebanon people try to put you in these boxes. I'm like, no, I don't need that to be part of my identity, kind of, you know.
I love this, Hanane. I really like this as an introduction to an established illustrator who wants change in Lebanon. I like this. So let's start, because I have so many questions. I think that most of our listeners already know Hanane Kai, but don't know Hanane Kai's illustrations, but don't know much about Hanane Kai, the person behind these illustrations. And I think this is what, you know, the questions are geared to know more about you and the behind the scene of most of, you know, the illustrations that you produce. And so I'd like to start with the first question, that is, when and why have you decided to become a designer or an illustrator? Or maybe you start, I don't know. I mean, I'll let you answer the question.
Yeah. I'll start in the very beginning because it's a funny story. I didn't want to be a designer. Actually, I wanted to do physical education, which sounds really absurd. But when I graduated school was a nightmare for me. I was bad at everything, like you name it, physics, science, languages, all of them. I was really bad. So I think in my mind, I thought that physical education would be the farthest from anything that I would have to study. And then my parents were like, no, you're going to do graphic design. I think they thought that it's the thing that is closest to art, but that also could, like, I can have a career where I can make money and be employed.
Like your parents.
I like them too. Actually, I'm still until today super grateful because they saw the talent. I mean, it was kind of obvious, but I didn't have this awareness. But it was obvious because, like, whenever, like in summer or during any school breaks that we had, you would see me drawing, or you would see me doing things with my hands, doing crafts, collecting stuff. So, yeah, they saw I couldn't. So, yeah, I'm grateful for them for that.
So you did study you ended up studying graphic design?
Yeah.
Where?
I studied at NDU, Notre Dame University. And Yara Khouli was one of my professors there, actually. Yeah.
No, were you with Wa'il Mur'us? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, Wa'il and Khajag were one generation before me. Christian Sarkis is one of my best friends. He's in my generation. And I met him the first day I went to university. He's the first person I talked to at university. And since then, we've been best friends.
Yeah.
Like, we like to tell the story this way also.
And a nice bunch of amazing designers there.
A lot of talent. Yeah, a lot of talent.
Yeah. Okay, so you're a designer. You have your bachelor degree in design, and then you know, were you illustrating while studying, or once you were done, you decided, no, I want to illustrate, or how is it? You know, like.
After graduating, I go and I work at Al Muhtaraf for 3 years, and Yara Khouli was also, it was Camille How. Yeah. And I remember meeting you there once or twice, I think.
أكيد.
Yeah.
Coffee at the balcony at Al Muhtaraf.
Yeah.
How inspiring the young designers are at the office.
I'm glad I was one of them. Yeah, I was really young. It was during the Harb Tammuz. Yeah. The war of 2006. And Yara gives me a call and she's like, did you get employed yet? And I'm like, no. She's like, what are you up to tomorrow? Come work at Al Muhtaraf. And we did that, me and Christian. And I did that for 3 years. I learned a lot, I have to say, from Yara's guidance, whether in university or also at Al Muhtaraf. And then I decided to have my own design studio with a bunch of friends. And this is when, I don't know if you remember, but during that time, blogs were really popular.
Yeah.
And I started drawing. I started having this sketchbook where I go. So Al Muhtaraf was right facing Sanaya Garden. So I would go to the Sanaya Garden. I see a certain person that intrigues me. And I start drawing them and I create a story around them. And I don't know what's their real story, but in my mind that they have a whole narrative and like I write about it. And then I started writing about political stuff that are happening in the country or like even in the world, like I was like climate change or like bigger political issues. And I would publish on my blog. So I moved from Muhtaraf. I started having more time to illustrate. I was already illustrating during Muhtaraf. And then it was the time also when Facebook was becoming really popular. So I would post on my blog, I would post on my Facebook that I have this new blog and stuff. And I think it started gaining some popularity and I got my first commission as an illustrator. And this is when my career in illustration, I think, kicked off.
Through social media, you got your first.
Through social media, yeah.
I like this, you know, this story about you getting your inspiration from one of the rare green spaces in Beirut, right? Sanaya Garden, the public garden, and social media helping you make your work visible. And you mentioned political work, and I'm thinking about the poster Palestine that you've designed. I was looking at it, and I'm thinking, did you design the letters as well, the lettering in the poster? Because I really appreciate the work that you've done there. Of course, the illustrations stand out as always with Hanane, but the lettering is really amazing. And I'm thinking the Muhtaraf maybe could have been, you know, like an inspiration in working with letters. I don't know. I mean, it's a question. It's not fair.
That's the legacy of Christian Sarkis. So we had this collaboration, me and him, and we did a few of these collaborations as a reaction. So something would happen in the world that upsets us, and we can't, like, it's like we can't work anymore. We can't do anything except do something about it. And as designers, like he's a designer initially also too, before being a type designer. we thought like we would do what we know how to do. Like we can't be on the streets. We didn't see our value there when things, whether during the revolution, the Thawra in Lebanon or other things. So we did a couple of collaborations where he would do the lettering, I would do the illustration. Like it felt like, what else could we do anyways? Like our body would react this way, you know?
And so where can we see them, these posters?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of them, not much, and they're on I think there's a couple on my Instagram. We did one for Sarah Hijazi.
Yeah. Tab, I want to move to your the award that you got with Ittisalat Award for children's literature books.
Yeah.
The book that is published by Amal, and the title is سأخرج إلى الحياة. I will get out to experience life. Yeah, maybe you can tell us a bit about, you know, your illustrations in there, the work that you've done, and the award that you've won.
So I'll tell you first about the series. And Amal is a series of 9 books targeted towards children with PTSD. And there's a lot of them here in the region and like also outside. It's a really important project, beautifully done, super well written. There was a psychologist that was researching and working with children with PTSD for decades. And he had created these tools that he tested also for several years that are put inside the books. I'll tell you how. So basically, the books follow the story of Salim, the protagonist, who went through a certain traumatic event. And through these books, we follow his adventures, but also his healing journey. So he's going to the therapist, and he's having his talks with her. And the therapist is called Amal, and Amal means hope in Arabic. And he's talking to his friends. He's talking to his sister, his mother, and he's gaining certain knowledge. And each book is Salim is learning a certain coping mechanism. For example, in the first book, the first thing Salim learns is that there is nothing wrong with him, but he's someone who has PTSD. PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder. So some kids that age, like he's, I think, 12 or so, like early teen, they would think that they are possessed or they are evil because their body is having these reactions. So the first book is just telling them there's nothing wrong with you really. It's just that you experienced something very traumatic. The second book, I think, is to tell them that not everything that startles you is that event. So if you are having a traumatic reaction, it doesn't mean that you are not safe, you are safe. And then the third book, and this is the one that, actually the first book won Ittisalat Award. And then the third book won Mahmoud Kahil Award for the children's book category.
I remember you listed. Yeah.
And the third book is about how we build walls to protect ourselves. But sometimes these walls are protecting us also from any kind of joy. So it's like this reminder to have a certain opening in that wall to let like happy things also enter in. Otherwise, we're protecting ourselves from really anything, even good things. So yeah.
Another book that won an award illustrated by you is the book that won the Bologna Book Fair Award. Do you want to tell us a bit about this award or the book? Have you been there?
Yeah, I was there actually a year before I won the award. I'll tell you the story. It's funny because I go there and I think it was one of the moments I was the most inspired in my life almost, because I don't know if you know, but Bologna Children's Book Fair, for those who don't know it, it's one of like the most important children's book fair in the world. And they organize this... What?
It's a prestigious award.
And it's a prestigious award also. But they organized this illustration exhibition where like thousands of people from all over the world apply to. And what they ask you is to send the original artwork. So I'm there. And of course, by then I was like very exposed. I have like, if you look at my library, you would think I have 5 children. I have so many children books. I love them. I genuinely love them. And I've seen a lot of them. But to see the original artwork there was something completely else. It's like you're in the studio of the illustrator, seeing how they're doing their brush strokes or the technique that they are using. It's right there in front of you. And a lot of people experience that also, for example, when they see live paintings. For example, I cried once I saw the Botticelli La Primavera. Although like we've seen it everywhere, right? But when you see it live, it's a very different effect. So it had that effect on me. And then I come back home from that trip. And I think I was so inspired. And then Kalimat approaches me, Kalimat Publishing House, with this book, Lisanak Hisanak. And they're like, you want to illustrate it? I'm like, sure. And the memory of the exhibition was so fresh in my mind. And of course, I wanted to do original illustrations and not digital illustrations. So I do that. And basically, Lisanak Hisanak is a tongue twister book. And I was asking myself, what is the book really about, right? So if we take one of the tongue twisters, خيط حرير على حيط خيلة أم خليل. So it literally means there's a thread on the wall of my aunt Khalil. It means nothing really, but it's about this jumble of words and letters that happens when and the confusion that happens when we're saying this sentence. So I decided to focus on that concept. And I came up with these illustrations that look like something that is confusing. Like you have these letters. So I used letters to create the illustrations and shapes. But that, like you look at them and you see something confusing. And while doing it, I was like, am I really onto something or is it just a confusing thing? I really didn't know, but then I guess I must have done something right. I'm not sure.
No, I really appreciate the geometric forms that you've used and the colors. Yeah, mostly primary colors or maybe bright colors. And I think what you've mentioned, what you're telling us about is this. That somewhere it is abstract, so it's not figurative. There's no realism because it's abstracted. It's stylized with all these geometric shapes, and I think it leaves a space for the reader to imagine things, to try to understand. It's not so easy to interpret, not to interpret, but to see to look. You need to look for a while to understand what you're trying to depict in the illustrations. And I like that. I think it's not everything has to be, in your face. Some things need to be interpreted by the reader. And I like the space. طيب, what about the series of book covers that you've done? Try, or maybe not try to think about adapting a certain specific lettering to the illustrations, or maybe not. You like them to clash. Maybe you can tell us a bit about the use of letters and the medium in your illustrations.
Yeah, good question. So, I'll start with the medium that I use. I don't have a specific medium. It's most of the time. I think the project dictates. It's like it tells me what medium it wants to be done with, and I can do sometimes a lot of digital illustrations, and a lot of the time I do hand-drawn illustrations. So it really depends. Like for example, for the last book cover, I remember illustrating the one for Macmillan, "Oranges in No Man's Land." It's a story about this little girl who goes through a certain adventure and journey of passing through from West to East Beirut in the 1983, basically before I was born. So I had to do all this research about Beirut then. And I did the illustration during the last war between Hezbollah and Israel. And reading about Beirut then and seeing the photos of Beirut then was like extremely, I don't know how to say it, like eye-opening. And it's like we're repeating the same patterns. Like you watch videos, people are talking, and if you remove the visual and you just listen to the sound, you would tell that you would think that we're talking about Beirut now. So this is how much history is repeating itself, and in certain ways, of course. Of course, it's not the same story. It's a different thing, but like, yeah, there was a lot of parallelism. So it was hard to read the story of the book and to illustrate it. But I felt that I wanted, I don't know if the book is the cover is in front of you, but you can see that the colors are not realistic. There's something mysterious, but at the same time, a little bit heavy, but not too heavy because the audience is a younger-ish audience. So there's this kind of vibe.
Yeah. So what is the project you felt got you the most recognition for? Or maybe the one that you were most proud of?
The most recognition for is Amal series we just mentioned. The most I'm proud of, and here I'm gonna go to my design work actually. I think when basically it's a mix between illustration and design. It's a dictionary that I did recently. It's an erotic dictionary in Arabic. And what the dictionary basically do, okay, so it's done first by Masaha Collective. They are an NGO based in Palestine, and it's written by and researched by Musa Al-Shadidi. And what Musa did is he dug through 26 dictionaries from the past, and he looked through all of them for any appearance of any erotic Arabic word from the year 791 to 2012. And the aim was kind of to track when these words entered first the language and when they disappeared. So, and what you see is that over time, these words start to vanish from modern dictionaries. So it's like the book makes this subtle point that the language had once a much more rich vocabulary for erotic expression, and that we didn't really need the West to come and tell us about these concepts. On the contrary, if anything, it's the cultural shifts that play the role in erasing them. So it kind of quietly is an anti-colonial project without really being so like waving a flag really about it. So yeah, it really has a beautiful message. And I think I'm proud of the work that I did because like I needed to show the weight of the research that is behind it without being nostalgic or outdated. But also we needed to show the eroticism that like the dictionary is about without being vulgar. So what we ended up doing is I used the hands. I used the hands combined with letters. So each letter of the alphabet has an opener, like you see Aleph, Ba, Ta, and with the Aleph you have a hand, and the hand is interacting with a letter in an erotic way. So I combined typography with illustration here, like my two skills, and I worked with my dancer friends to get the body language and the movement of the hands right, you know? So yeah, it was a lot of fun to get the combinations right. It was also challenging because it's bilingual. Like we say that it's mostly Arabic because the words are not translated to Arabic, they are transliterated, but the definition is translated to English. So design-wise, I have this challenge of the bilinguality. And anyway, a dictionary is hard to to design because it can seem very, I don't know, boring, clinical. Yeah, but I think we did a good job creating this kind of balance of showing the depths and the eroticism and not making it too boring.
Wow, this is amazing, Hanane. I can't wait to get a hold of a copy of this book. Where can we order this book, or where is it being sold?
I think it's going to be published this year. I'll definitely talk about it on my social media.
Great. Invite us to the signing, get the book signing.
Sure.
So, what is about your work? It could be type design or illustration, or as you know, the design director you find most difficult. The most challenging task in being an illustrator or a designer.
I think a brief where
dealing with the client.
Of course, always. You're at my mind. No, not really. Not all of them, actually. I think it's the brief where I have nothing to push against. I find some briefs are horrifying to me. I find them really, really difficult, but not because they're difficult, because they're sometimes too plain or too straightforward, where the answer is too much right in your too easy. I like to have something to push against. I like to have a problem to solve. I like the briefs that makes my brain hurt a little, if you want. And I think somehow I became a magnet to these projects. So if you see my children books, most of them are about really difficult subjects to illustrate for kids, like war, refugee crisis, poverty, death. Like these are subjects that are hard to talk about for adults, let alone children. So you have, I feel that I have a certain responsibility, and that you need to have a certain emotional sensitivity to depict those themes in a way that doesn't sugarcoat them, but also doesn't overwhelm the readers. So, yeah.
Great. Any final word or thought that you would like to leave us with?
No, but thank you a lot. Thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure to be with you. And thanks for the effort for doing this podcast.
I feel that there's so much to talk about, but maybe in another podcast. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Hanane. Thank you for this inspiring conversation and to being with us. Thanks.
Thank you for listening. This was Khatt Chronicles, design stories from the Arab world.